Father Lord, I want to thank you for the gift of this day. Thank you for the gift of this lesson. Father, we ask for your guidance and understanding. I pray this through Christ the Lord. Amen.
Yeah, thank you so much for the word of prayer. Those who have just joined and those who have not yet received the timetable, today we are going to have our entrepreneurship lesson. That's what we are having today. So we expect you that the books you have, anything you're having, it is of Ent. At this level, we know that Ent is compulsory, so everyone does Ent. But before we start, we are going to raise our hands and we give some responses why you think Ent is still necessary, what you really love about Ent. But the most important thing, today we are going to start on a new topic. In Senior 2, our first topic when it comes to Ent is what we call legal form of business ownership. So that is always the first topic that we cover when we enter into Senior 3. So, Senior 2, may I ask any volunteer, can we raise, what do you understand when you hear the word legal form of business ownership? What comes to your mind? So you can raise up the hand and then you can share with us. Okay. Yes, Ira.
What I understand by legal form of business ownership is the having the legal right of owning a business of your own.
Okay. Thank you. Another person we are sharing. So that was Ira. Katunji. Oh, sorry. John. John, unmute.
It's like having the legal right to own a business, like having a license.
Yeah, like having a license for you to own a business or to run your business. Okay. Any other person who has an idea? Yes, the rest, what are you saying? You can type your answer in the chat. You can type your answer in the chat. Yes, now let me look through the chat to find out what others are saying. Okay. Okay, in the chat, there is nothing. I want other two ideas, other people. Yes, for you, what do you have to say about legal forms? What comes to your mind? What do you understand from the word legal form of business ownership? Okay. Okay, I think people do not have a lot of ideas about it. Okay, so this is what we are going to be looking at for this particular lesson when it comes to legal forms. Okay, allow me to go through. So let me hope you have. Now, by the end of this chapter, a learner should be able. So we expect you, by the time we finish this chapter of legal forms, you must be able to understand the different legal forms of business ownership and be able to select a suitable one basing on their characteristics. So we know very well that in the future, each one of you may wish to start a business. But which kind of business do you want to run? Which kind of business do you want to start? So we shall look at the different forms of business ownership, and then you look out and say that maybe this is the one that may work for me, or this one will be the one to work for me. So we are going to look at the different forms we have, and then we shall be choosing accordingly, depending depending on the different features that business possesses. Then the second one, you must be able to list the advantages and then the disadvantages of each form. Like we have, those who have interacted, you have found out that each and everything we do in life may have some pros and cons. It might have some advantages and then some disadvantages. Okay. 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 Yes. Necessary matter.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I think it is okay you start sharing from your end.
It's okay. I think it was network problem here.
Okay.
Let me try to.
Okay, let me stop sharing here.
Okay. Hope you are able to see the screen. I don't
Yes,
know.
yes. We are seeing it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kaziba, for closing that gap. I think it was network problem, but I think it is finally resolved. Allow me welcome everyone to this afternoon session of our entrepreneurship lesson, Senior 2 2025. And our number one topic, ship. I joined in when Mr. Kaziba had introduced a bit of it. Allow me also make an extension from that very point. Our focus is particularly going to be on our topic, legal forms of business ownership. I don't know whether you're able to confirm that you are hearing me. Okay.
Through the chat, they're saying they are hearing you well.
Okay. Now, legal forms of business ownership is what we are on today. But we are going to make this session an interactive session where I am just a moderator and I expect you learners to come in and do the contribution, because these are the usual things we see in our communities we live. We are not studying things which are abstract. They are surrounding us. Even as we talk now, there are people who are engaging in what we are going to look at right now. It could be helpful immediately after this lesson. Perhaps you even have more experience when it comes to this particular topic. So let us share whichever that you have at your front so that we make it more interactive. Now, when we talk of legal forms of business ownership, I'm certain that when you were joining Senior 1, they introduced you to definition of what entrepreneurship is. You went through different subtopics there where you looked at creativity and innovation. You went through risks in business. We talked of risks in business. You looked at electronic businesses until you reached businesses in Uganda, or the different types of businesses that people can engage in. Now, I want to, first of all, rotate around businesses in Uganda, the topic you looked at in second term of senior one. We all know that a business is a legal economic activity that is carried out with an aim of making profits. So whenever we are defining business, we put there the word legal economic activity, which is carried out with an aim of making profits. And now here in our topic of senior two, you are again seeing the word legal form of business ownership, meaning there is a connection between the topic you looked at in senior two term, or rather senior one, term two, and what we are going to look at term one, senior two. Now, in our senior one, the different types of businesses, of course, we had, you talked of agribusinesses, you looked at manufacturing businesses, service business, trading business, etc., etc. But these businesses have a kind of ownership where they fall. You don't just wake up and operate a business and they ask you a category where you fall in when you are not able to tell. So our main emphasis for this topic today is to identify the different businesses we see in our communities. Where do they fall? Are they, because some of you just see them and you say such and such a business is owned by so and so, or it is owned by a group of people, but you can't have a general term, a business term, to mean what you are talking about. So this
Mr. Richard?
afternoon, yes, sir.
Yes, is it possible, because some people are saying the letters are a bit small, for you to increase up there where there is an addition?
Okay.
After ask capilot, where there is 2 of 9, that plus.
Let me see here. I think they are able to see here.
Yes, then we can cross the other screen. Discuss screen this side. The one, yeah. Perfect.
Okay. Okay, so we're looking at the legal forms of business ownership, and I was giving a background of some of the different types of businesses we looked at formerly in senior one, and now want to create a link to see and identify which kind of business falls under which kind of ownership, because there are different categories in which businesses can be owned for purposes of monitoring by the relevant authorities. URA is so much interested in our businesses, but then they cannot make tax assessment if they don't know the category of business where you fall in. And it's a reason why you have had different businesses possessing trading licenses, certificates of trading, certificate of incorporation. All those certificates come as a result of identifying which category of business one is operating, because different categories possess different formalizing documents. Now, when it comes to business ownership here, legal form of business ownership, I have started by defining what business ownership is all about. And I've simply said it refers to who the business belongs. Who owns the business is simply what business ownership refers to. Remember, in our topic, it is legal forms of business ownership, meaning businesses which are owned under the law, which have been allowed under the law to operate and they are not interfered with. Now, ownership is to who the business belongs. And I proceeded by saying when one talks about legal forms of business ownership, literally is meaning the different types of businesses which one can own within the law or established regulations. Like we have all seen, there are businesses which are operated, but we misuse the word business. We can't put on such just because they are not illegal. There are businesses which are not supposed and can never be approved by the relevant authorities because they operate illegally. Take an example of prostitution. Prostitution, whereas people may call it business, that is not business. It is simply an illegal activity. Whether it generates money or not, it is immoral, and therefore immoral activities cannot be categorized under business. That's why we are using the word within the law, literally meaning the different types of businesses which can be owned within the law. That's the word legal form of business ownership. And related here, I said different people can choose to set up different businesses depending on which business they personally prefer. So whereas we shall look at the different categories of in which businesses are owned, but different people choose which business to own basing on several factors, among which, and which is the biggest of all, is the amount of capital to be invested. Most people tend to look at the amount of capital they have in relation to the business they want to run or operate. And therefore, they also look at the procedures involved in the formation or registration of a business. There are certain kind of businesses which, when you plan to engage in, you'll go through a lot of procedural, you'll go through a lot of procedures in order for you to access permission to run that kind of businesses. So if you really have very little capital, you may not be able to be patient enough and go through all those bureaucracies. Now, I think from there now we proceed and look at the major legal forms of business ownership. Well, as previously I said, the types of businesses, we had trading, service, we looked at agriculture business and manufacturing. Here now we are looking at ways of owning those different types. And one can own a business specifically in 4 ways. Though I added the fifth one, the public corporations. But individuals have capacity to own businesses in 4 ways. I've mentioned about sole proprietorship. I've mentioned the partnership, the joint stock companies, or the ones we call the limited liability companies. You can own business as a cooperative society, and then we can own business as public corporations. However, with this element of public corporations, these ones are specifically owned and run by government to provide services to people at a relatively low cost, low or even no cost. Take an example. The public corporations we have in Uganda here, I think we have National Water and Sewerage Corporation. The government is charged with the role of making sure that it sets up some of these bodies so that they can provide such an essential service, because water is very, very vital in our daily life, and therefore we cannot leave water in the hands of private individuals. Private individuals may exhaust the people, and yet water is really a need. So government comes on board, they provide some of these services. Take an example, a jerrycan of water. I think from National Water, if you're just buying, they may charge you 100 shilling, a jerrycan of water. But when you are buying a bottle of water, which is simply 500 mils from Renzoli Bottling Company, they will sell you at 1,000. But one jerrycan contains around 40, 500 mils or 20 liters, if I can say. So that can give you a picture of how some of these public corporations operate. We have TVs. In Uganda, here government owns what they call UBC, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. That even if you are connected to Star Times and what, and then you don't have money to pay for the service, UBC will always be on. Why? The government has subsidized it to make sure that they provide information, services at a cheaper rate to people. But now, individuals, when it comes to businesses owned by individuals, we are going to focus on the first four: the sole proprietorship, the partnership, the joint store companies, and cooperative societies. The word sole
there is a
proprietorship.
question.
Yes.
Okay, yes. Ira, you can unmute and ask.
Teacher, me at my school, they told us that sole proprietorship is one word.
That?
Sole proprietorship is one word.
It may not matter, but the word sole means only. So it is, the word sole means only, and the word proprietor means an entrepreneur, and proprietorship means business. So if I use the word sole proprietor, it's like I've said only business, only business. I don't know how you would combine the word only business to form one, but irrespective, the word is sole space, then proprietorship or proprietor. Because sole means only or one.
Okay.
Okay. Now, anyone who's information about that so that you define for us what sole proprietorship is all about? By show of hand, you unmute yourself and you tell us.
Sole proprietorship is a form of business ownership owned by only one person who contributes capital to the business and undertakes all the risks.
Very good. Thank you so much. Any other person with a different view? You also unmute yourself if you have a different view. Okay. Thank you. So the word sole proprietorship, as you have clearly stated, sole meaning only or one, proprietor meaning an entrepreneur, and or proprietorship meaning business or entrepreneurship, whichever. So simply the word sole means, sole proprietorship means it's a business which is run by one person, specifically one person, who undertakes all the risks of a business. We are using the word risks simply because previously in our senior one term one content, we had looked at risks in businesses. In your several different schools, you looked at risks in businesses. So whether it makes profits, whether it makes losses, a sole proprietor will always either suffer alone or enjoy the advantages alone. And that brings us to our definition, which you have clearly stated. So what we are saying is a form of business owned by one person who contributes capital towards the business and undertakes all responsibilities and risks in a business. So the keywords here is that it is owned by one person. That one person contributes capital alone. Of course, when you own something alone, it means even capital, perhaps you contributed alone. That also drags us in term 3, where you looked at sources of finance for a business. So these topics are interconnected. Now, in sources of finance for a business, you looked at the personal savings, sale of shares, etc., sale of personal property. Now, this person generates money from those different sources, brings it on board, and then starts up a business while standing a risk A risk, of course, is a possibility of something bad happening on a business or anything that has a negative impact on the profitability of a business. Of course, when you enter a business, you have to withstand all the challenges that may come along. There's no business you operate with the only target of succeeding, because we also have what they call business failure and business success. Now, a person who carries on sole proprietorship business is the one we call a sole proprietor, only entrepreneur in short. One person carrying on a business. A proprietor is a person who starts up a business. And that takes us to definition of who an entrepreneur is. So a sole proprietor usually does all the business activities by himself or herself, and is sometimes simply assisted by the family members. People tend to confuse sole proprietorship with joint stock and what. There are individuals who that own businesses alone, but those businesses are not registered as sole proprietorship. You can own a business alone, but when your business is registered as a different kind, depending. So we shall look at formalization of business, and details will come from around that zone. But now with sole proprietorship, we are basically focusing on these micro businesses, because those micro businesses are the ones that basically use family members to assist them in the day-to-day running of the activities. You are running a mobile money, simple mobile money. You have a retail shop. Such businesses, you have a store in the market selling vegetables and other groceries, etc. All those ones fall under sole proprietorship because you are engaged in yourself. And if you don't go there, then you have a family member who takes on that role. Now, unless if you have a question, you carry up the hand. I wanted us to look at the characteristics of sole proprietors. Having looked at the definition and internalized it very well, I want you by show of hand to make the session interactive. You tell me the different characteristics of sole proprietorships or businesses owned by one person. And some of them, of course, we can pick from the definition itself. Yes?
All business ideas are generated from one person.
Very good. All business ideas are generated from one person. Okay. Thank you. Another person?
Dancer.
You can still put in the chat room if you have some of those points. Okay.
The person who is owning the business is independent.
Very good. The person owning a business is independent, meaning he carries on decision making as an individual and does not consult anyone. Good. But when I first tell me the name, then you tell me the answer. Okay. Yes, any other?
An individual gets the profits and losses.
An individual gets the profits.
And
okay. Okay, good. Now we can shape it a bit to say that an individual enjoys profits alone and suffers losses alone, because we don't enjoy profit. Rather, we don't enjoy losses. You enjoy profits alone and suffer losses alone. Good. Any other? Yes?
The business is not recognized as a separate entity from its owner, such that the loss affecting the business will lose the private life of the owner.
Okay, good. Thank you. Any other?
There are no formalities.
There are no legal formalities. Good.
Yeah.
You don't need very many documents to start a sole proprietorship. business. Especially, take an example, if you are going to have a store selling tomatoes, you're going to operate a simple retail shop in your village. You may not necessarily need to go through very many procedures as it is required with these other businesses. Susan?
Yes, please.
And
There is limited scalability.
there is limited scalability. Yes, good. Any other? I'm seeing praise. Okay.
No legal entity.
No legal entity, no separate legal entity. Good. We don't have a separate legal entity from the owner. The business is the owner is the business, which is not the case with these other businesses like joint stock companies. Today, if I asked you to tell me the owner of Airtel Uganda, you may not be able to tell me because we all know one thing, Airtel. We all know one thing, Coca-Cola. And if they tell you, they ask you for their founders, it will really take give you hard time to identify them. But sole proprietorship businesses, for them, if it is a retail shop, I know that such and such a shop is owned by Mugume, is owned by Mukisa, is owned by Peace. I am able to tell. That's why we are saying they don't have a separate legal entity from the owner. The owner, you yourself, you are the business, and the business is you. That's why when you die, it is also likely to close down or die out, which is not the case with these joint store companies. We have seen, take an example, Madivan family. Madivan died some time back, but the Madivan family has continued providing us, I think, with sugar. This sugar we take here, it is that family providing, simply because it's legal form of ownership. It could be a joint stock company, but sole proprietorships, because they are owned by one person, you die, they are likely also to die out. Okay, any other? If
It
not,
is easy to establish.
Yes, come again.
It is easy to establish.
Good. It is easy to establish. Why? It is because it requires very little capital. It requires little capital to start, and that's why it qualifies to be easy to establish. Okay. Okay. Now, I want us to go through these features. You have clearly stated all of them correctly. I want us to discuss this. One person at a time. One person can carry up the hand and you read through this. And you explain. Where you have not understood, you can carry up the hand and we throw there a light. Because these points I've given here is what you have exactly mentioned. But where you need an addition, please raise up the hand so that you are helped. Who is going to go through?
Petty. Let me choose Petty.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Characteristics or features of sole proprietorships.
Proprietorships. Okay.
It is owned by one person who provides the startup capital. The business owner, an inspirable, or in brackets, no legal separation. The owner suffers unlimited liability. The owner enjoys profits and suffers losses alone. The owner is the sole decision maker. It is easy to start since it requires little capital. Management is easy. The entrepreneur mostly employs family members.
Thank you. Is there any person that has not understood any of these points? Michael, you're writing in our class?
I think, Mr. What we can do,
Yes.
Go up there on this screen where you are seeing the Zoom features, where there is a microphone, what. I don't know that you're able to see them.
Okay.
Have you seen those features?
Should I go in more?
Yes, more.
Yes.
First go to annotate, and we first erase these ones they have written.
Let me see, annotated. Okay. Okay, it is disable.
Disable.
Disable
Then,
annotations. Yeah, I've done, so I've disabled.
Then we go to annotate.
Okay. Then we go annotated, yes.
Then you pick that eraser, the rubber, and then we first remove clear our screen.
Okay. Annotated is picking the pencil instead.
Yes, the pencil then but there are other things.
Other features.
Oh yes, or you can just say delete if you see that feature after seeing the annotate.
Let me see here. The feature is only displaying the pen. Let me see. Never annotation. Okay. Save. Then you pick eraser. Okay. We can now proceed. So I see Ira, your hand is up. Is there any point you want to throw more light on? You can try on these points and explain them where you have not understood for the colleagues. Ira, your hand is up. Jonathan.
Teacher, I wanted to add one point.
Okay. Please go ahead.
There are no or less government interventions since the since the sole proprietor mostly employs family members, the government cannot intervene in that business and take over it since the family members have control of it if the sole proprietor has died.
Okay, thank you. Yes, there are less government, not that there are no government interventions, but there are less government interventions. In fact, if the owner dies, what government can do in the case of any wrong, they can just advise, but they have no authority to take on a business owned by an individual. Good. Any other supplementation here? Jonathan? Okay.
So explain like how the owner suffers unlimited liability.
Come again.
So I'd like to explain point 3.
Point 3, yes. The owner suffers unlimited liability. Okay, when we talk of unlimited liability, it means like we previously said, we talked of having no separate legal entity, that the owner and the business cannot be separated. Now, when we talk of unlimited liability, it means should a business, let's say, get a loan from a financial institution and the business fails to pay back, the bank will come for you, the owner. They can even go ahead to sell your personal property, which is not the case with these other joint stock companies. Take an example. If Airtel Uganda cheats your airtime, you load airtime, you want to call someone, only to check, it's nowhere to be seen, but you haven't used yet. Now, if you are taking the company to court, you'll not take the individual because the business is separate from the owners of Airtel. It will instead be Jonathan versus Airtel Uganda. But when it comes to a business, if you own your mobile money at home there, that Jonathan mobile money, should you fail to pay, the people who demand you, the ones you are calling creditors, they will come and take you, Jonathan, to court as an individual, not Jonathan mobile money. They will come for you, Jonathan, and even sell your personal property so that they can recover their money. That's why we are using the word unlimited liability, that should anything occur, they will proceed up to your personal property until they recover the money. That's what they mean by unlimited liability. Hope you get me.
Thank you, sir.
Aseta, your hand is up. Aseta, unmute yourself. Okay. Okay. Crystal, just unmute yourself when I mention your name. And Paul, your hands are up, but you're not. Let me start with Paul.
Excuse me, teacher, my complaint is I can't hear you. That's why my hand is up.
Okay, you can't hear me. Hope it's network. Hope you are now able to hear me. Hope
well, teacher,
yes.
My question is on point number 2.
Yes.
Yes, they should explain for me.
That the business and the owner are inseparable. The business and the owner are inseparable. You see, when we talk of the business and the owner being inseparable, that takes us almost to point 3, where the owner suffers unlimited liability. If you have a retail shop around your village or wherever you are, a retail shop is there, and there is only this one family head who sells in that shop. Let's say it's called Tata who. I'll take an example of Tata. Let me use one of the name here, Tata Andrea. If Tata Andrea owns a retail shop in Chireka and is the only person we know that is ever there in that shop selling, when you come and you find when it is closed, your first question will be, where is Tata Andrea? You will ask for Tata Andrea and you will not be concerned about Andrea or Tata Andrea retail shop. You are instead asking for the person who owns it, because you know once I get that person, he will be able to open it for me inside and I get what I want to access. That's why we are saying the owner and the business are really inseparable. And earlier on we mentioned and said, if the owner dies, the business also dies. And we all know that all things which are inseparable, when one goes away, the other also will have to diminish. That's what we try to mean, that the business and the owner are inseparable. You get sick, even the business also closes down. You have first of all to shut it until you recover. That's when you come back and continue. which is not the case with these other businesses like partnership, because with the partnership, you operate between 2 to 20 people. And even for professional partnerships, it is 2 and there is no maximum. Others even go up to 50 for professional ones like banking. So if one member is sick, one can take on. But in sole proprietorship, you are sick, therefore you can't go to your business. It will also become sick until you recover. So the business and the owner are inseparable. Okay, we proceed. Hope you have got me. Okay, if you don't have any other question, then we go to the next. Prince. Okay. Okay, Infinix, your hand is also up. Okay, let us proceed. So we are now proceeding to advantages of sole proprietorship. Now, having looked at the characteristics, I want us now to dwell on the advantages of sole proprietorship. Of what importance is it to operate a business alone as an individual? You brought capital alone. You yourself, you work there. The profits you enjoy alone. In case of losses, you suffer alone. Decision making, you don't consult anyone, you do it alone. What are the advantages of such kind of business? Yes, I see people's hands are up. Okay. Spark 4, Jep, Spark 4, unmute yourself and Jep is not talking. Jordan? Jordan? Okay. You are raising, I see very many of you are raising up their hands, but you are not. Yes.
All profits.
First, tell us your
It
name,
is
please.
Ira.
Ira, okay.
Yeah. It's easy to set up because there are no legal formalities required.
Good. It is easy to set up because there are no legal formalities required. This Uganda Registration Services Bureau, the one charged with the responsibility of registering businesses in Uganda, they don't demand much from a person who is operating simply a small business which is solely owned. So that's one advantage of sole proprietorships. Okay. Any other? Here. The people I'm mentioning, the names are not responding instead. Jonathan, the hand is up. Peace, the hand is up. Flavi, Joy. Joy, the floor is yours. Joy, you unmute yourself and give us a point. Okay. Let me check the chat. If some people are able to write here. You can still write in the, okay, in the chat room. Jonathan is saying he can't unmute. Why? Peace. Okay. Okay, this one has used Lenovo. It's easy to manage since I don't know how you have written your point. You have said it's easy to manage since, okay, since you don't pay family members, in short, good. So you are assisted by family members, and therefore the business is really, really easy to manage, and even it is small. So small businesses are really manageable by one person. Okay, that it says the host doesn't allow us to unmute ourselves. Let me see. But there are people who are unmuting themselves. I don't know why you are saying the host does not. Okay. The business owns profits. Okay, the business owner enjoys profits alone. That is Kejali, good. Enjoys the profits alone. So since you are not unmuting yourself, because I've allowed everyone here, ask to unmute. Okay. Let us just proceed since you are not able to say out. We have advantages of sole proprietorship business. And the first one is that it is easy to form. Sole proprietorship businesses are easy to form. Why? First and foremost, there are no legal procedures, very many legal procedures required. It's just a matter of getting your small capital. If you're in a town setting, get a simple trading license and you start on business, which is not the case with these other categories. So forming a sole proprietorship is very, very easy. That even you, if you have your small capital there, you can even start it immediately after this lesson because it requires little capital, very flexible, and therefore it has no much hindrances. Now, the owner also enjoys all the profits alone in their business. That's one advantage. You see, when it comes to partnerships, you do share. When you look at a company like Nile Breweries, which is a private limited company, and private limited companies are owned by people between 7 to 50, meaning should they make profit, all those individuals who own that company, they have to share. But if you are in a sole proprietorship business, when you make profits, you do enjoy those profits alone. That's one advantage. But now when it comes, when we shift to disadvantages, as we shall see, this will be the opposite. That since you are enjoying profits alone, in disadvantages, you will suffer losses alone. Should losses occur, you also suffer alone. But profits you enjoy alone, meaning those who are many, if they make profits, take an example in partnership, where you are between 2 to 20. Should you make losses, we shall share those losses according to the capital we contributed. If we contributed equally, then we shall share those losses equally. And if should you make losses in sole proprietorship, there you suffer alone. So the opposite here is that the advantage, one of the advantages that you enjoy all the profits you have made alone. Then the sole proprietor enjoys top secrecy. You don't need to tell anyone about how the business is proceeding. Just to get time, you visit any surrounding business owned by an individual. It could be a salon, could be a mobile money. Ask that person that how much money do you make a day? Out of the 10 people you will ask, 9 will not tell you. You may only find one, or else none will tell you. They will just confuse you like this. It's not much money, just simple money. They never disclose exactly, meaning they keep with themselves the secrets of the business. But when it comes to these other businesses, which are not sole proprietorships, like MTN Uganda, by law, because it's a joint store company and it's a public limited company, by law, it is supposed to declare the profits it makes every year. So those big companies, which are public corporations, are public entities, in most cases, at the end of the year, they have to declare all their profits to the general public so that we know how much they have made. But for if you are running the business alone, you don't need to tell anyone. These secrets are with you. Remember, the advantages of having secrets in your business is that you stay ahead of competition. Because now if you disclose all your secrets to the general public, in that general public, there exists your competitors who are running the same kind of business. And therefore, they may end up picking some of your tips you use to make profits. They transfer to their own and they surpass you. They generate more profits, for you lose the market share. You get a reduction in the number of customers, sole proprietorships. Then the business is flexible. These sole proprietorship businesses, they are very flexible. Why? It's because they operate with little capital. When you talk of businesses being flexible, it means you can change from one line of business to another. Take an example. If you are in the market, you are selling, you have a stall in Kalere there. You are selling eggplants. You are selling eggplants and onions. And then you operate with the capital of 50,000. Then it so happens that the market for eggplants has gone down. The demand is very low, yet the supply is high. And tomatoes, they are on market. The demand is high. People are coming to buy tomatoes, and those who are selling are making profits. The following day, you don't need to come into the selling of eggplants again. Once you finish this at the selling of the stock you have, next day, change it to tomatoes so that you capture on the market that is existing. That's why we are saying the business is flexible. But for if you are in this other kind of businesses, these big private limited companies, take an example. We have had many companies come on board. Renzol was among the first company to make water, bottled water here. But then we have very many different brands on market. But Renzol has never thought of changing to another line of business because these ones are there. Why? It is very difficult for private limited companies or joint store companies to change from one line of business to another. Why? Their businesses possess a lot of capital. They invest in a lot, billions of money or millions of money. And therefore, you can't just mere shift from one business to another. It is not just possible. Then decision-making and implementation is easy and faster. Like we looked at in characteristics, decision-making when it comes to a sole proprietor is very easy. Why? You don't need to consult anyone. Unlike partnerships, in partnership, when you own a business like 10 people, for you just can't wake up and take on your own decision without asking colleagues. You have to call for a meeting, then you raise your issue, then you discuss about it until you reach a consensus. But with solo businesses, after all, you are one. You only consult your consciousness. You don't even need to ask a family member. Just take on a decision you so wish, as long as it will help a business to go forward. Then there is close supervision. Those who have questions, you can still put them in the chat room. We also have, there is close supervision. In sole proprietorship business, the owner, the major aim is to make profits. And the owner knows why he started the business. And therefore, there is a very close supervision when it comes to a business owned by an individual. If you go to Mukwano Industries, let's say, where they make these plastics and what, one time I visited there and we found a lot of damages. Damages are products which have got some imperfections. You find a cup without a handle, of course, that one is spoiled now. Those are called damages. But one thing that came into my mind, I said, there must be a loophole in supervision. Being a big company, a limited company, and therefore people don't bother much. But if that business was owned by one person like this, who is ever there, himself or herself, such errors cannot, or they will be minimal in such a circumstance. So because the owner is ever there in a business, it gives it close supervision, and that close supervision increases efficiency, and efficiency, of course, increases on customer care or customer service, which in turn turns out to huge profits in the business. Then it provides employment opportunities to the owner and family members. Some of us, you have simple businesses where your mom sometimes tells you, you go in and stand in for me. Today I'm not around. Please go and be there. Be there. Today I'm not around. That's already employment. Majority of you are not idle in this holiday. You get time to go and assist your parents in different businesses that they are running at different stations. So that's already employment to you, the family member, and also to the owner who started. It could be your father, could be your mom. So that's the good thing with these sole proprietorships. Then this type of business can be set up anywhere, even in remote areas. When it comes to sole proprietorship, they have no limit. They can be put anywhere as long as you suspect that the customers will be there. You have made, remember you looked at market research in your content of senior 1. So if you carry out your market research very well and you identify that I will be able to get the customers, then you can go ahead and set it anywhere, whether remote, whether where. But when it comes to these others, it is not just possible to set up a business wherever you find. For example, most businesses, most joint stock companies are located around the areas of Jinja, in Mokone, in Namamve there. There's what we call localization. Why? Because of the good infrastructure, the area is easily accessible, materials can easily be accessible, etc. There are factors they consider. But with these sole proprietorships, as being small, they just target where they can get a few customers and they generate a small profit and let life continue. Then this type of business can be set up. Okay, that one's a repetition. Unless if we have a question before we proceed to the disadvantages. I don't know whether you are now able to unmute. Any question? Let me start with Kristo. I am going to, okay. I'm asking you to unmute. Ask to unmute. I've asked you to unmute. Unmute yourself and ask your question or supplement. Okay. Finally, I'm now unmuted. My network disappeared and I couldn't make myself a host again. But I've been following.
What?
Members, we were on disadvantages of sole proprietorship business. And at a point when we were cut off, I was asking if someone had question that
You've been on that common slide since.
Yeah. Someone is saying think teacher is having problems.
You think teacher is having problems?
Here.
for
Someone called.
I've been sending stickers.
I'm paying attention.
You got it from Chrome?
Yeah.
Why is Jane doesn't meet him from Chrome other than Google?
It goes.
You finished your food?
No, I have not yet finished. You're cool.
I'm struggling just now. You're finished? I could have eaten more than that at least.
advantages of running a business alone.
It's just network.
It's not giving me.
See? Tomato. Tomato.
I think that's legit refused to give me that keyboard.
That is resuming this Monday.
Legit.
Is what? Resuming this Monday.
Yeah. This guy said that they were going back this Monday. Hi. And that's cook and daughter babe.
Someone has
I'm
said,
not their candidates, but
someone has said, teacher, your voice is breaking.
because it is. It's not like I can beat them. That's how they are not even.
Stop it. So fun. It's funny. Anyone from SK Royal College Namani Laboratory. Don't understand. Tomato.
Come is disturbing me. Refuse to give me the keyboard. It's slowly, even now I'm eating slowly. And I feel like the space that has built up, I put in another thing. I'm not drinking together. Angel, Andrea, you're on the. Who said I should read this? Andrea, you're on the lessons.
Yeah.
Why do you want to do the lessons?
Please don't talk in your class. I don't know who is this. It's raining here. It's a reason as to why my network is jumping off. Unusual rain. So the disadvantages of sole proprietorship, we are saying the sole trader has a problem of limited capital. That's one disadvantage. That these people tend to operate a business as a singular person or any other credit institution have
Hello?
enough collateral security to put down
I'm fine, thank you, Dad.
before the bank gives you a loan. I know is speaking in our class. I think we should just unmute you people. Should just unmute, rather should mute you. Okay, I was saying they have a problem of limited capital. Reason, they can't access loans from financial institutions. Financial institutions fear giving them money simply because they operate on a small scale. Their businesses are too small and they fear that when they extend a loan to them, they may not be able to pay back. And therefore, these sole proprietors keep struggling. The business never grow. For you who have who are nearing some retail shops, there's a retail shop, you go to school in term 1, you come back in term 2, it's like that. In third term, it's like that. Next year, it is like that. It is not growing. The only thing you notice is it is declining. Why? These people have limited capital, and yet enough capital helps you in expansion. Now that they have no other sources of getting money, they tend to be at a stagnant position and they don't grow. Then the solo trader depends on himself to run the business, but he may have limited expertise. Imagine being in a business alone and you are doing all the activities which were even supposed to be done by more than 3 or 4 people with the technical skills. But because you don't want to employ others, you want to save money and make profits, you tend to use your limited knowledge, your limited skills to run the business. At the end, the business does not expand. It will remain small, generate small profits just because you learn expertise. There are businesses, if when you bring a person with the relevant skills, in no time, in less than 6 months or a year, the business would have taken off. It would be at another level. So that's one of the challenges they face. They don't have enough skills to run some of these businesses. Of course, you can't know everything. It's a reason as to why in different organizations, we got to have people with different skills holding different departments because they have specialization in that area. But now the solo trader is in this department, is this way, is that way, you can't do it perfectly. Then a sole proprietor suffers unlimited liability. We talked of unlimited liability in the characteristics up there. And we said it means that the losses of the business will have to be paid from his or her private property. Should the business make losses and it's declining, the only way to revive it, remember you studied the how to revive a failing business. You looked at success in business and business failure, and then you looked at how to revive a failing business. Now, if a business is collapsing, the only way of reviving it, bringing it back to life, if it is a sole proprietorship, you have to go home and sell your personal property. You sell your car, sell your house, sell your land, or any other property. Then you carry that money and bring into your business so that you you bring it back to life. Otherwise, if you don't do so, it will collapse. Remember, most financial institutions are not willing to offer you the loan because of the scope, the small scope in which you operate in, and therefore you lack a collateral security to present for a loan. You have sometimes to supplement with your own property. Then there is lack of business continuity. When the owner dies, usually the business closes down. We mentioned about that. So in most cases, they tend to suffer that. The owner dies, the business also dies out, which is not the case with partners. Can all die even. But as long as they have the caretakers who replace them, the business will exist for years and years and years. We all know that people who started most cooperatives, some cooperatives in Uganda here started as early as 1950s, 1960s. Some of them have died, the majority, the starters. But the cooperatives are still running simply because they don't depend on the life of one person. By now, if you are one individual who is running that particular business, you die, it also goes with you. Then the business may not be in a position to carry out research due to lack of enough capital. Research in business is very important. Today, most businesses you see, they spare a lot of money to carry on research. Research helps to come up with better methods of doing things in an organization. And those better methods, of course, they lead to business growth. Every hope of a business, every dream of a business is to grow. And you can't grow without research. Research is very important. You go and benchmark with other businesses which are engaging in the same line of trade, so that you collect knowledge from different angles, bring back to your business, and then create some changes, because change in a business is part of growth. By now, these sole proprietors don't have money. They don't have money to spare and go and conduct research, but also they don't have time. Remember, they are the very people who are 24/7 in their businesses, most of them. And therefore, they have no time to go and conduct that kind of important research. Even they lack skills, they lack the technical expertise to carry on research. Research is also carried out by technical people, and they are very expensive if you are to hire them. Then a sole trader suffers losses alone, since he or she is alone in the business. So of course, when we looked at advantages, we said you enjoy profits alone. Remember, in risks, you will either make profits or you make losses. So when things turn out to be on your side, you are likely to make profits. But then if the dice does not go well, then you are likely to operate in losses, and those losses will pinch you. You'll suffer alone. Unlike businesses like partnerships, where losses are shared among members. If we make a loss, we share them. Profits, we also share. We proceed to, unless if you have a question. We're also saying decision is made by the sole trader alone may lead to mistakes due to lack of consultations. Imagine being in a business where you are one man army. You yourself, you decide on whichever, whether you have a skill on it or not, you want to take a decision about that particular situation. In most cases, you are likely to make mistakes, and those mistakes can cost your business. Yet if you are many, one brings an idea, the other one also brings it, then you bring all those ideas on board, you discuss and pick out the best. But now here you are alone. Yourself, you bring an idea, yourself, you polish it, and yourself, you implement it, which is very, very risky. Because that one now puts you on probability. Then a sole trader may not easily borrow or access credit facilities from financial institutions due to small size of collateral security. That's what I mentioned about, that they have limited capital. Why? They can't even access, or they have limited access to credit facilities because they lack a collateral security. Collateral security is that item that the bank requires or financial institution requires before they extend a loan to you. It's like, should you fail to pay, this is something we shall sell to recover our money. It's like a backup plan, plan B for a bank. You fail to pay, we take this property. That property you have put is called the collateral security. So these small businesses, in most cases, they are not given an avenue to access these big amounts from financial institutions because they fear, one, that they are very small, they may not be able to pay back, but also they don't have what to put there in order to be given the money. You have seen a circumstance where banks write on people's houses, bank property. You always see such circumstances. That is called the collateral security. You fail to pay back, they take on that one. Then lastly, the business owner may be overworked since he's alone, and in case of sickness, the business may stall. I think you also get that. Remember, in the characteristics, we said this person is only assisted by family members, but in most cases, does his or her things alone, and therefore may end up getting fatigued. You work from morning to evening, you have no help around, so you end up being exhausted, and the following day so happens you are sick, even the business will not open. It will become stalled. Why? You become sick, bedridden, even the business will become bedridden. You die, it also dies out in most cases, because in characteristics, we say the management is easy. Management is easy because it is managed by you, one person. Now, if yourself, you die and then you live in the hands of family members, they tend to mishandle, and such businesses usually collapse within a very short period of time. Before we proceed, any question? If you have a question, you can type it in chat room. You can carry up your hand, either way. If not, we proceed. Okay. Okay. Ira, the hand is up. Just unmute yourself. Okay. Ask to unmute.
Sure, I have one more point.
Yes.
The owner may not easily carry out market research and advertising due to limited capital.
Good. I think now, Ira, that takes us to our point of research, that it limits business growth. You cannot do the research, you may not be able to. In fact, these small businesses don't advertise because they, not that they don't want, but they don't have money to go into those adverts. Remember, going to a radio station or newspaper, TV, very, very expensive. The last time I checked, advertising with the New Vision, a mere half a page, just a mere half a page, I think it was around 500,000. So these small businesses may not be able to really catch up with that. Okay, otherwise, thank you for supplementing. Who else here? I think I'm now able to unmute you. If you have a question, you just raise the hand. I will unmute you and you ask. Okay. This one, mute. Okay, now let us proceed to a sample question here. The try activity. The try activity. Who can read through? Ira, since you are already on. Can you read for us that activity? Or let me choose another person here who is active. Amos. Amos, I want you to
Teacher.
unmute yourself, Amos.
Teacher, you've unmuted me.
Okay. Okay, let me unmute you. I'm seeing Benox.
Teacher, you've unmuted me.
Let me unmute you. I wanted to choose Benox. I see the hand is up. Jordan, okay. Let me unmute Jordan. Jesus Christ. Oh. Jordan, please. Adjust on your voice.
Okay, I'm saying fire activity. Jojo,
okay. Jordan, we can't hear you well. Let me try. Okay, Jordan, let's try Makila, so something with the kind.
Sir, can you hear me?
Okay, there I'm able to hear you. Yes,
okay.
Now.
I'm saying prior activity. Shiba, Jojo, Karen, and Jaden studied together at a high school and university.
It's over. Katrina, if it's over, you don't cry for us. Okay?
Operate a business together after school. Task. As a student of entrepreneurship, considering legal forms of business ownership. With evidence, advise them on the most appropriate legal form of business to engage in.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me see any other person here. I see people's hands are up. Peace, your hand is also up. Peace. Okay. You are carrying up the hand. Amina.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, Paul. Please also go ahead and read through the same.
Shiba.
Loudly, quite loudly. Okay, I think Paul is off. But the question is just simple. Shiba, Jojo, Karen, and Jaden studied together at high school and university. They proposed to after school, and the task is very easy. As a student of entrepreneurship, considering legal forms of business ownership, with evidence, advise them on the most appropriate legal form of business to engage in. Can we briefly go through some of the legal forms of business ownership we talked about briefly, so that you can have a hint on how you are going to attempt this question? By show of hand, you tell me some of the different categories of business ownership one can engage in. Okay, KLC. KLC, unmute. Okay. The people I'm unmuting are not talking. But their hands are up. Let me choose randomly here. Ramla. Okay. Alison? Alison is also off. Okay. The people who are carrying up the hands, I'm trying to unmute you and you are not talking. Very many are carrying up. Okay. Who is this one shouting in the class? Teresa? Teresa?
Teacher, you have unmuted me.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Partnership business.
Can you briefly tell us what a partnership business is all about in your own understanding?
They are formed by an agreement between two or more individuals.
Yes.
Membership in a partnership business ranges between 2 to 20 persons. In case of
Yes.
professionals like doctors, lawyers, or accountants, membership is between 20 to 50 persons.
Okay. Good. Good.
A
Thank you.
partnership refers to a legal relationship between two or more persons carrying on a business with a view of making profits.
Thank you so much. Okay. Any other person to give us another legal form of business ownership before we come back to our trial question? Gilbert? Gilbert? Okay, Gilbert is not unmuting. Who else is online here? Okay. Yes, Jordan?
Sir? Yeah, mine is school operation.
Sorry?
I'm saying school operation and poultry keeping.
School operation and poultry keeping?
Yeah.
What is it all about? Because we are looking at the different types of business ownership.
Sorry,
And
I had like as
I
if you
don't
said legal
remember to
forms.
have mentioned about that.
No, I had as if you said legal forms. Sorry.
Okay, legal forms of business ownership. Yes. Give me another. Someone mentioned partnership and defined it. Tell me another. Just we are making a recap of what we started with.
We have like sole proprietorship.
Okay, we have sole proprietorship. What did we say sole proprietorship is all about in your own understanding?
In my own understanding, sole proprietor, like let me say, is a type of a business whereby it is started by an individual with his or her own capital.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want people to carry up their hands and tell me what you have learned in this lesson before we come to our trial question. Anything you remember? We have Martha, Andrea. Martha, you are on here.
I think I've been the most active person in this lesson.
Martha? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me choose Joseph. Joseph Onen. Joseph? Okay. Agena? I see Agena here. Your hand is up. Let me end with Mugume. Davis. Okay, they are all off. Now, like the question is presented, where we talked of the Shiba, the Jojo, Karen, and Jaden. These 4 people were together at school, in their high school, and even at university. And they sat down and proposed that let us start a business together after school. By then, you as a student of entrepreneurship, having looked at the legal forms of business ownership, the sole proprietorship, the partnership, the joint stock companies, cooperatives, etc. A question here is clear with evidence. Advise them on the most appropriate legal form of business to engage in. These 4 people, which kind of business would you advise them to engage in? Because they are going to do it together. So you will go and try out on that work, and in the next lesson, we shall consider starting from there. Equally in your group, you can share some of your findings so that we discuss. After all, I'm there in your group, you can do the sharing. But I don't expect you to talk about sole proprietorship. Why? A sole proprietor is always one, runs the business alone. But these ones are 4, Shiba, Jojo, Karen, and Jaden. And they are going to run only one business, but together. So you first tell me the legal form of business they can take on, and then you give me the advantages in this case, because I've said with evidence, meaning tell me the legal form of ownership, then give its benefits that has made you to choose it. Otherwise, we want to extend the apologies for the network, which was not okay, especially in the last minutes where we had some interference. That was nature. We can't, there's no way we can stop nature. It was raining and the signals were really disturbed. Otherwise, in today's session, as we come to the end, we have all known what business ownership is all about, the different forms in which businesses can be owned. We have picked one, that is sole proprietorship, exhausted it, looked at its definition. How do we call a person who operates a sole proprietorship? We have looked at the characteristics of such businesses. We have gone ahead to look at the advantages. We have looked at disadvantages, and then this trial activity, which you are going to do during your free time. Unless if you have a question, any supplement, anything, I would really want to thank you for attending and end the session. Unless if there's one person with a question or anything. These 4 people who are carrying up their hands. John? If you carry up the hand and I unmute you, please talk. Eli Melek, something of the kind. Okay. Flavi?
Teacher, how can we send the work?
The work you'll send in the group, WhatsApp group. I think you are all there in the
But
WhatsApp
it is
group.
locked. But it can only
Yeah?
it can only say that admin only.
Okay, your work can still, I think I'll put here WhatsApp contact so that you can drop your work and then I mark it and send you back either way. If you can't access the group to type in.
Yeah.
So you can quickly pick it down here and then you will submit there your work.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
You have been talking about a group that I'm not aware of.
Oh, possibly, maybe possibly you are not just in.
Yes.
We shall add you. Make sure submit work on that number I've put in the chat room. Then I will send it to Mr. Kaziba and he will add you in.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay, yes.
Does the legal forms of business involve types of business like agriculture business, trading business?
Come again?
Do these legal forms of business involve types of business like trading business, manufacturing business, agriculture business?
You see, those ones you are mentioning are types of businesses. And those types of businesses, they have a kind of ownership. You can be owning a trading business. You have a wholesale shop, which lies under trading business. But how did you register it? Would you have registered it maybe as a sole proprietorship? You could be owning that shop 3 people. Therefore, you are in a partnership like that. So these are the types of businesses are different from types of legal ownership. The ownership is different from the types of business.
Okay.
Exactly. But every business has ownership. There's no business that is just there.
Yes.
Okay. I think if there's no another question, hope you have gotten the number you will send the work. Allow me to bring this session to an end. Thank you for attending. Let me close the session. I now declare it over.
Hey guys. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Hello.